Yeah. Anyways.
Or you go home with a fly swatter.
Yeah. Anyways, so
the chiddush by that mikveh is there's only one mosquito.
I got an electric fly swatter right here. I'm ready.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so we started with the Maisa. We're talking about all the different ways of doing Kiddushin, meaning if she didn't say, if we're not sure if she said yes or not. Right? So the last case that we finished off with before the end of the daf, on Friday, was a case where she gave a hadas. He gave her a hadas, which is not worth a shava pruta. And they said, hey, it's not worth a shava pruta. So then they said, no, but inside the hadas was a few coins that are definitely worth more than shava pruta. So then she was quiet. So the question is she yaitza now? Well, not yaitza. Is that her being quiet mean that she's accepting the Kiddushin or not? She accepted the hadas as a Kiddushin, but it was worth less than a shava pruta. Then once it was already given to her, once she found out that it was actually more than a shava pruta, and then she was quiet. So what's the din there? So let's see. So let's read that case again. About 10 lines up from the bottom.
Mat is less than a shava pruta.
What?
This is like a mat of hadassim, right?
Well, I don't understand what you're asking.
I'm saying this is it's not just a hadas. It's a mat of hadassim, right?
A mat?
M-A-T, yeah.
What do you mean it's a mat of hadas?
That's what it says. A mat of hadas.
A sifta. Yes, I didn't have what you're saying. I didn't have. Yeah,
right.
It was a mat of a hadas. Correct.
So I might think that this would be less than a shava pruta. This is not alone a shava pruta.
He said that might think it says amrulay. So they said to him, less shava pruta. There's no shava pruta.
It's worth less than 10 cents.
Yes, that's a yes. I was wondering.
20 cents, that whatever myself. It is. Okay.
Yes, that's what it seems like.
I guess so.
Maybe it was a cheap hadassim. If it wasn't hadassim from nowadays, I guess, David. Right? Anyway, so let's see the case. That he was Makadash a woman with a mat made out of hadassim. You just Makadash an ish with something less than a shava pruta. Be Makadash with the 4 zuz that are inside it. So Shtakishav Ishtika. So when she heard that there was money inside it, so then she took it, right? Which I don't know means she took it, meaning she didn't give it back, but she was quiet, right? She didn't give it back. Which
kala says anything under the chuppah? What's the big deal?
No, but no. Normally, when she takes it, right?
She doesn't say anything. She sticks out her finger.
But her taking it is acceptance.
No. When she takes it normally, she's taking it the shame that it was worth a shava pruta. Right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's when a woman accepts a ring or a hadas or whatever she's taking, when the guy says, "Here, will you marry me?" or he says, "Arean mikudeshes li," and she takes it, that means she's agreeing. Otherwise, or if she takes it and throws it down on the ground, right? But here she took it, but the taking was not a taking because it was not worth a shava pruta. I mean, she thought it wasn't worth a shava pruta, then she finds it was worth a shava pruta, and she gives it, and she doesn't throw it down. Yeah. So anyway, so that's the shaila. So she took and she was quiet. So that's called being quiet after money was given. That's nothing. It doesn't mean that she was masking to it. Right? So, So Amar Rava, Minah, how do I know? Meaning, how do you know that being quiet is nothing, and therefore the Kiddushin is not a Kiddushin? The Tanya Amar Allah, a guy said to a woman, Kansi Sela Zuba Bikadin. Take this Sela as a Bikadin. right? Meaning that you should watch it. You should, I need you to watch this seller for me. And then he went, so she took it. Then he went and he told her, but you know what? I decided you don't have to watch it for me. I want you to keep it for marriage. So again, when he gave her the money, he did not have in mind to marry. At least he didn't tell her that. Right? So then he says, oh, by the way, I want to marry you with that money. So the Shas Matan Mois, right? Meaning if he said it when he gave her the money, Mikudeshes, she's Mikudeshes. But Lachar Matan Mois, or if he only said this to her after the money, Ratzasa Mikudeshes, Loi Ratzasa, and a Mikudeshes. Right? So if she wants then the Mikudeshes, and she doesn't want, she's not Mikudeshes. Okay, what does Ratzasa mean? My Ratzasa, my Loi Ratzasa. What does it mean, Ratzasa? And what does Loi Ratzasa mean? Ilay Ratzasa da Amra in. If you say that Ratzasa means that she said yes, she actually verbalized yes, Loi Ratzasa da Amra Loi, and if she didn't want is where she said it, so then obviously there's no question on that. Mechlal the Reisha must be then in the Reisha on Tamar Aleph now is ki Amra Loi Nami Kiddushin. That means in the Reisha when she says no, it's a Kiddushin, right? Meaning when she says Ratzasa, so am I? Why? She said no. How could it be that she says? How could it be that she said no? How could it be that she says no and it's still a Kiddushin, right? Yeah. So meaning in the first case, I'm sorry, I said the first case is Ratzasa. No, the first case is that he gave her the sela, and then B'shas Matan Mois, it's a Kiddushin, right? So it must be that she said no. So how can that be? Elalav. So it must be that. So that can't be what Ratzasa and Loi Ratzasa means. Elalav, Ratzasa da Amra in, Loi Ratzasa da Shtika. The Ishtika Mishaska. Ratzasa means she says in, and when Loi Ratzasa means she was just quiet. So you see that being quiet after giving money is nothing. So Gemara asks, Kashuba b'fum nara mishmeidu Rav Huna b'reidu Rav Yeshua. There was a kasha in Fum Nara. Who says you could compare the being quiet in the case of the man giving her the money to watch and then changing his mind, comparing that to the case of the hadas with the money hidden inside it. There, he gave it to her as a pikadon, savra, and she thought isha dinulahu umisveri. Let's say I take this money that he gave me and I throw it down on the floor, and or they get broken. I'm going to be chayiv to pay him because he gave it to me as a pikadon, and it's my responsibility. Here, he gave them when he gave it to her. He gave it to him b'taras kedushin, which means it's hers. He used to the line nicha, and if she doesn't want it, she could throw it down. It's not her responsibility. Meaning, maybe by her taking it and being quiet, maybe in the case of pikadon, the reason why she took it and she was quiet was not because she had in her head that she's going to be married to him. She just took it because she wanted to make sure it doesn't get broken, and therefore she's going to be responsible for it, right? But by the Kiddushin, maybe, so therefore by the case, I'm sorry, going back, so therefore the case with the Pikadon, where he gave it to her just to watch it, that's where her being quiet means that it's not a marriage. But the case where the guy gave it to her b'taras marriage, and she kept it, so then that's it. So then it's hers, right? So the Gemara says that's why they can't compare the two cases. So Parach Ravachai, asks on this kasha, Atukulu Nashi Dina Gemiri, are women so educated? Right? Do they know that they weren't makabel achrayis? Yes, makabel achrayis. Ochanami Sabra, here too she thinks, Ishadinu lahu misveri, if I'm going to throw it down and break it, meaning this thing of hadasim, mischayevna be'achrayusa, I'm going to be chayav in achrayis. So therefore the cases are comparable. And if she's quiet, it's no good by pikadon. So then when she accepts the hadas as kiddushin, her being quiet is also no good. Right? So
kind of strange to say that the women didn't know so much then. I mean, they didn't have a Beit Yaakov then, or
they did not. Actually, the women were real Amaratzim.
Right? Amaratos.
Amaratzos. I'm sorry. Yes, Amaratzos. Right? No.
She knows that it needs to be a shava pruta, but she doesn't know that she needs to. She knows. Does she know that it needs to be a shava pruta?
Does she know what?
Never mind.
Does she know? You ask me if she knows any halacha whatsoever. That isn't that the Gemara? No, isn't that the Gemara Shiloh? The Gemara and the Gemara first is thinking women are educated. Women are educated. So she knows in one case that she's going to be responsible, and the other case she's not going to be responsible. Here, right? Then here, according to Rav Achai says not true. Women don't know, right? No, that's what it's saying.
Okay.
That there, I think. We had this in where did we have this with the girls going to yeshiva, the Chavetz Chaim? We did it inside, and I think I posted it. The Chavetz Chaim writes that nowadays you're mechuyev to have girls have to be educated because they don't altita shtaris yimecha. There's not we have to go to school to be educated, right? Anyways, so yeah. So Shulcha Rav Acha bar Rav l'kamei de Ravina ki agavna mai. So he asked him, what's the story here? When the woman was given something, and it was initially either not a good Kiddushin or given a Kiddushin. So what's it then? So Shalach Lei, so they sent him, Anan Leishmi Alon, Had Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. We didn't hear what Rav Huna Rav Yeshua said. Right? Asan Deshmi Alechu, but you who did hear is Chushula, you have to be Chayshir for it. Right? Meaning, this is also a very important thing when it comes to Psak, this Gemara, right? Meaning, what did Rav Acha bar Rav asked the question to Ravina. He says, I never heard this Chumrah of what Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua said. I didn't hear what Rav Huna Breder of Yeshua said. You heard, right? I'm sorry, you didn't hear. So since you didn't hear it, you don't have to paskin like it. We heard it, so we have to deal with it. You don't have to deal with it. Right? Now, it's exactly when you implement this and when you don't, is a little bit confusing. Right? So Mamela, basically, they're saying we never heard it from him. You heard it from him. So Mamela, you have to deal with it. We don't have to do it. Right? So, you have to be worried about it. I know there's a Maisa episode with Ramosha Feinstein with this, but I don't remember right now. Like if somebody who heard it, he has to be chosher for the chumrah, but everybody else does not. Okay, there was a woman who sold varshichi, right? It's some sort of what do you call it? An ornament, not an ornament. It's a better word than that. Accessory.
Silk ribbons.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm saying. It's an accessories. Also, Gavra, so then came along this guy and he grabbed it away from her. And she said to him, Habaneheli. She said, give it back, right? A guy comes, steals it from her. She says, give it back to me. If I give it to you, you got to marry me. So she took it back and she was quiet. Are they married now or not? Right? So Rav Nachman said, in Shokli v'didi Shokli. I didn't take it for marriage. I took it because it belongs to me. Right? And obviously they're not married. So if somebody steals, if somebody is Makadosh and Isha with stolen property, or Chamas, or Geneva, meaning all forms of stealing, or he grabbed money from her hand and was Makadosh with it, Mikudeshes. So she is Mikudeshes. Right? So what's up, Pshat? We have a steer. The price says she is Mikudeshes. So one answers, Hassam b'deshadur. They were talking about that they were already holding in Shidduchim. So imagine this. According to this price, they're on a date. The guy says, boy, I really like this girl. He calls over two of his friends who are in the same lounge. He grabs her ribbon or her bow and says, you want it back? You marry me? gives it back, gives it to her, and they marry. Right? Because they were in shidduchim already. Had they not been in shidduchim, meaning if he walks over to a different girl in the lounge because he likes the way she looks better, and he does this, it doesn't work. Right?
It doesn't have to be that they have to be Isaac together. The agreeing together.
Well, they were Isaac together. They were dating. No.
Yeah, okay, but doesn't mean she's gonna say
I
yes.
don't mean a first date, Zev. I mean, let's say a fourth date.
No, I understand, but I'm saying it doesn't have both sides have to agree here.
Agree? They are agreeing. Well, it's true that she didn't agree. She just took it.
Right.
She just took it, right?
I'm not sure what the Havamim is.
What do you mean? Again, they're talking about marrying each other. Then he grabs her ribbon and he says, "You want it back? Marry me." She takes it back. She's married.
He's supposed to give her something, not steal something from her and
a chanami. But that's what the Gemara is saying. Because
why what's the Havamim? He stole something from her.
No.
So now you want it back.
Zeb, it's not a Havamim the paskin that she's married. It's beyond Havamim.
Yeah, who says he can't steal something from her?
Well, I mean, if he could be Mekadosh with something he stole from her.
That's what the price said.
Why not?
It's very difficult to understand. It's very difficult to understand.
Without the Hishuvas Exela Shirgazal, he owns it.
What?
Yes, to pay for it, but he owns it.
I have a great idea. You know, I'm going to your driveway. I'm going to take out your car. What do you mean? What do you mean? You can't. What does that mean?
It's been done before. That's been done already a few times this year to him.
Then what? Tell it. My car was
Take your
stolen.
car.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But they didn't try to be Mekadosh me.
But Zev, you can't be Mekadosh him anyway.
That's true too. They didn't treat Mekadosh my daughter. All right. Yeah. So.
Zeb, I don't understand it either. I have no idea what the Gemara is talking about.
I'm not saying listen. I'm not saying I understand the concept behind it, but it sure is a cheap way to get married. Listen, it doesn't mean that he's going to get the Tzaddik of the Year award, as we say, right?
Yeah, but she agrees to marry him, so she knows what she's dealing with.
She didn't agree to nothing.
No, so that's the Shaila. She took that. Yes,
she knew beforehand.
What are you talking about?
He gave her nothing. He didn't give her anything. He took something from her and he gave her nothing. She's not even agreeing.
No, that's the Shaila. No, let's get the Shaila clear. I want to get the Shaila clear here. It's not.
David, I won't be able to share tomorrow. It's Monday. I take your phone, my Shmuel share, and I say, if I give it back to you, you're inviting me for supper tonight. So what the heck does that mean?
True, that doesn't really mean anything.
Where's the mute button? Where's the mute button?
No. Let's get something straight. If she took it back and said, "I'm marrying you," then it's Pasha that she's married. That's how we got into it, right? The Gemara says that on the top of it. If she took it back and said, "I'm not marrying you," Pasha that she's not marrying him, right? That's Pasha. The Shaila is she took it and she was quiet. So now we got a bunch of rabbis trying to figure out what a lady's feeling. You know what? That's a disaster, right? We're trying to figure out what exactly she's thinking.
Is the Gemara assuming shtika kaidah memela? She's saying yes.
That's one of the stuff. Not hoidah. It's not hoidah, but shtika. She took it.
She's shtika is kaidah, and she's admitting that that's what I want to do. Is that what the Gemara is discussing here?
Her shtika is not outside, but that's basically what it's saying. Why did she stay quiet for? Why didn't she say, "I'm not marrying you, you're a crook"?
I would be shocked if somebody came with an axe to steal something from me, right? If a lady stole something from me on a date, I'd look at I'd be like, what are you doing?
You're right.
Why did she have to talk to this maneuver? I mean, because I didn't want to talk to maneuver, so that means I did something. Well, I have nothing to do. This person is a chaya. I don't want. What do I have to answer him? He's not. He doesn't deserve an answer from me. What do I have to? I have to answer him yet?
You mean he's stomach crook? So why am I?
He's nothing. What do I have to answer him?
I don't know why.
I don't want to talk to this piece of garbage. What do you? I have to talk to him.
About the same case.
You have a good point, Rabbaran, but the bottom line is she would have to say yes.
She has to say, "I'm not interested in marrying you. Give it to me back."
Again, because they were talking shidduchim. Since they were talking shidduchim, yes. If they were not talking shidduchim, and a guy comes over in the street and grabs her ribbon and gives it to her, and she takes it back and says, "You marrying me?" And avada, that's nothing. That's nothing. But since they were handling shidduchim, and then he went and grabs it to her, in a warped way, I could think that maybe this is a romantic overture. He just loses control that he wants to marry her. He doesn't have anything to take, so he grabs something to her and says, "Will you marry me?" And she says, like, "Wow, you love me so much that you want to marry me that you can." Doyle's not going for that.
It worked. See, Yaakov, John Gotti's wife was Jewish, so maybe that's how he proposed to her. Yeah,
maybe. I hear. I
Is
don't
it
know, but
is that the
yes,
shot?
yes. That's the shaila. That's the shaila. Right. Anyway, so that's the teretz. Meaning we have a stira. So we're saying that's the difference. There's one main difference is because since they're discussing shidduchim and she took it from him anyways, memela, it's considered, that's where our shaila starts. That's the whole shaila. They're talking shidduchim and she didn't say no. Okay, we not tame, and then the Gemara says again, we not tame the shaila bein shadach to lo shadach. How do you know that we differentiate between shadach and lo shadach? Tanya Amar Allah. If he said to her, "Kanti sela zu shani chayev lechi," take this sela that I owe you, and then he says, "You know what? I owe it to you, but I want to be mekadosh with it." B'shas matan mois, right? If he said it when he was giving the money, when it was when he was giving the money, then he wants it. But if it's after matan mois, even if she wants it, she's not mekudeshes. So my rotzasa, my le rotzasa. What does it mean rotzasa? What does le rotzasa mean? Ilay rotzasa. I'm reading fast because we did this. Ilay rotzasa domre in. As if I remember it so well that I did it. It's like I make it sound like, oh, I did it. I remember. Anyways,
I don't think anybody cares that you're reading fast, Yaakov. Ain't nobody gonna complain. Maybe Gershon.
Okay, my rotzasa, my le rotzasa. What does it mean rotzasa? What does le rotzasa mean? Ilay rotzasa domre in. If rotzasa means that she said yes, loy rotzasa domre loy, and loy rotzasa means she said no. It's mashma. If she was quiet, then it's a kedushin. V'nisni mikudesha stam. Right. So don't we have to talk about whether she was maskim or not. Just say she's mikudeshes. Right. So kihasam. I'm sorry. It's just like there. Right? Meaning in the brisa before we said that if she says no, so then she said no. She says yes, then they're married, right? Ela ratzasa da amra in ratzasa must be she said yes. Loi ratzasa dishtika, she was quiet. For katani deina mekudeshes, but we learned that she's not mekudeshes, right? My timer. Why is she not mekudeshes? Because yichal lemema in shakli v'didi shakli. Because she could say, yeah, I took what's what the Olam is saying. Right? I don't have to open my mouth. I took it and I took my own thing back. What do I have to be guided you? Right? You have a stira because the same stira we said before. You have a kasha from he was mekadesha with stolen property. Or he grabbed money from her, the kitcha, and it says mekudeshes. Right? So then we have a stira. So Elamai, what are you going to do to answer the stira? Elalav shmamina, hadashadech. One is talking about where they were talking shidduchim, and one was they're not talking shidduchim. Again, just to be clear, when they're talking about shidduchim and they're negotiating whether they're going to get married, and he runs and takes it from her, then that's an automatic. Then it's not automatic. That's where our question becomes that she took it and she was quiet, and she didn't say no. So then we have to be concerned that maybe Shitaka wanted to get married.
Well, maybe she didn't say anything because of the nonverbal communication. He did something stupid and she gave him the "you're a shaita" look and didn't have to say it. That look that all wives give their husbands from time to time.
Maybe that's only after they've been married a while. Do they give the stupid look?
Yeah. Okay. Listen. It's hard to know. You're right, Jesse. There's different ways of taking it and being quiet. You can make a face, right? You cannot make a face. Yeah, fine. So kinoch nafshe. So now we got it. Now we're done with that. We're on to a little new sugi. Kinoch nafshe the Ravasi. What exactly what they do when Gedolim are nifter? So what do? The Rabbanan went up to gather, different shmaitzes that they heard in his name. Right? Rashi says they gathered in the Bismer. Said anybody who heard anything, b'shem Rav Asi should come tell us. So Amar Lei, Amar Rabbanan Rav Yaakov Shmei. Same way you can't buy a woman less than a shavapruta. So to karka, you're not kind of less than shavapruta. So Amrulay, what do you mean? We learned the opposite. Even though a woman is not nickness less than shavapruta, karka nickness karka is. So Amrulay, Kitanya he bechalipin. That's talking about chalipin, right? Again, we discussed the chalipin. Chalipin is a kinyan where no money is actually changing hands, like what we do by the Mechirus Chametz. There's no money changing hands. I mean, if people give the money to a rabbi, it has nothing to do with it, right? The rabbi gives the pen to the person or the handkerchief, and they're giving back the rights. By the Mechirus Chametz, it's not a kinyan, but it's similar to a kinyan. But that's how it goes down. So that doesn't have to have chalip, doesn't have to be worth shavapruta. Tanya kind of a kli, shavapruta. You can do a kinyan with a kli, even though there's no shavapruta. So yes, if you want to buy a field straight up with money, or a woman with money, it has to be worth shavapruta. But if you're just doing a chalipin to be kind of the field, then you don't. Then the thing that you're doing chalipin with does not have to be worth a shavapruta. How do you see the
The chalipin doesn't work with Kiddushin? Or the chalipin does work for karka?
Well, we said you cannot do chalipin for Kiddushin because since it's not worth a shavapruta, so then, right?
So that's what Ravasi was saying. I mean, there's two parts to Ravasi's line. A woman cannot be nikna with less than a shavapruta, neither can karka.
Right.
Well, actually, it said there's Ramani. Right? Yaakov said
it's Ravasi b'shem Ramani,
yeah. And they slugged that up, so he wasn't put on.
It up. They asked on it and they answered. He's talking about Kenyan Kessin. Bryce is talking about Chalipin.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So that was one thing. So how do you also become a hadam Rabbi Yudam Shmuel? Kol sheni yedei b'tiv gittin b'kiddushin. Right. We had this a couple of blot ago. This that review the seven Shmuel. Anybody who doesn't know gittin and kiddushin well, shouldn't be busy with them, which is a very interesting lashon. Don't even get involved. Doesn't say don't be Masada Kiddushin, don't be Masada. Don't be having ASIC, meaning don't shoot your mouth off and say do this, do that. Just don't get involved, right? If you get a guy who deals with Kiddushin and Gittin, and he doesn't know what he's doing, is more difficult for the world than what the Dara Mabel did. Shenemar, Allah v'chachesh v'ratzoyach v'gonev v'noyach parotzu, making false shvuas and killing, and Allah is, what do you call it? Allah is cursing, right? Well Allah v'chachesh meaning to make up what do you call it? A shvua sheker. Ratzuach is killing, stealing, niyuch partzu. Right, bedamim nagu, blood will meet blood. So my mashma, what's in mash? Because we're talking with Yosef, my moldin benin minashi chavrein. What they're going to do is they're having kids from their friends' wives. Chayvin al chayvin, my sifin. So they're adding one avera onto another avera. Meaning why? Because these guys, since they don't have no idea what they're doing, right? So they could be matering mamzerim.
What does that have to do with the pasuk? I didn't understand what it has to do with the pasuk.
Well, we're not done yet. So that's the first thing it says. Uksiv al kain tev al haaretz, and because of this avera, the world is going to be destroyed, right? Umlal kol yoshiba, and anybody who's in it is going to be thrown all over the place. Right, b'chayas asadu b'oif shemayim, with the chayas in the field and the oif and shemayim, v'gam daga yom yosavu, and even the fish are going to be wiped out. So that's what it says in this pasuk about people that are going to be fathering kids that don't belong to them, etc., etc. And by the Ilu B'Dar Mabel says, Lo nigzu gzeira al dogim shebayam. The Gezerah, the dogim shebayam survived the Mabel. Shenemar b'kol asher b'charava mesu. Anything that was on dry land died. V'loy dogim shebayam. Bilu acha filu dogim shebayam. And here, even dogim shebayam died. So you see that it's worse, right? It's worse to have people getting involved in getting in Kiddushin and causing people to be having kids that are not theirs. That's actually worse than the Dora Mamre. Yeah. Fine. So it says maybe it's only bad. The world is only bad when you do all these things together, right? There's a whole list in the pasuk. Allah, chachash, ritzua, ganom, niyah, and we're saying that it's only the right. So loy sagadat. It doesn't have to be all the chsiv ki mipnei Allah of avla haaretz, because of the Allah, the world is destroyed, right? So meaning it just here it says only the word Allah. So meaning it doesn't mean, and then it also says the world's going to be destroyed from other things. So mainly each one of these is enough by itself to cause the world to get destroyed. So maybe only the making a false shvua by itself will cause the world to get destroyed. But the other ones, right? And these have to be, meaning all of these have to be, meaning it's Allah as one, and then the other ones are together. Yeah. So the Gemara is on the base now. So the Gemara says miksiv with partu. Does it say with a vav uparatu? It says partu ksiv. Doesn't say with a vav. Right. So therefore, it's going on the last one and not on all of them. Okay, that's a diktuk thing. Yeah. Hadar yasvi v'kamri. Then they sat and they said, Hadatnan ha'isha shevi achatas umeisa. A woman who brings a chatas. This is a woman who had a baby. Right. So she has to bring a chatas and an oilam. Right. So if a woman brings the chatas and then she died, so now she only brought one of the karbanos. So Yaviu Yarshin Oilasa, then the Yarshin bring her carbon oila for her. Oh, that's only when she separated the karbanos when she was alive. But if she didn't separate the karbanos when she was alive, then it's not a problem. Alma. So we see from this that being meshubed is not midoraisa, because meaning meshubed meaning when somebody dies and they owe money or karbanos or whatever, owe something, that they should be they're meshubed. So here by us saying that there's no shibud, right? That's only if she actually separated it. That means there's no shibud midoraisa. Meaning once she separated the karbanos, then avada you have to bring them, right? But if they don't, then you don't have to. Fine. Some of Asi, Amar of Yochanan, Afalpi, Afagav Shaloy Yafrishim Mechaim. Even if she didn't separate it Mechaim, they still have to give the karbanos. Alma Kasava Shibuda. How are deraisa? According to Rav Asi, the Shem Rav Yochanan, Shibud is deraisa. So I want to ask about Pligi Bachada Zimna, but they already had this machlokes once before. The Rav Shmuel Dami Tavayu, Malval Peh. If somebody lent something. Meaning it wasn't with a star. So the guy who owes the money can't collect from Yarshim. And he can't collect from even those who went and bought fields from the borrower. Right? And a Malva Peh collects whether it's from Yarshin or whether it's from the Kufas. So you see this exact same case. So why do we need two cases? This is where Shmuel says that Midai Raisa it's not Meshubid and the Yarshim don't have to pay it back. Because Malva is not written in the Torah. Right? Meaning it's not a mitzvah necessarily. It's he voluntarily borrowed money. Aval Bahach. But by the woman who gave birth, she has a chiyuv min haTorah to bring this karbanos. Maybe he invited to Rabbi Yochanan and Shakish that the Yarshim have to bring the karbanos. The mother was mechuyev to bring karbanos. And if you're going to say it in the case of the loan That a malva that's written in the Torah is like it was written in a star. Our bahach, but by the our bahach, but we would say that by the loan, then he would be moided to Shmuel, that it's not meshuvit, so therefore tzricha, then you need therefore we need both cases. Fine. So that's what we need. That's what we need to teach both cases about what Yarshim B'chayiv to do. Samara Papa Hilchasa Malva Peh Goyim and Yarshim. A Malva Peh should collect from Yarshim. Ve'ena Goyim and Alakuchas, but she can't. They don't collect from people who bought land from the guy who borrowed. Right? I should have explained this before. Normally, when somebody borrows money and then he goes and sells his land and he doesn't pay back, then that loan has to come. Then the loan, they can go to the person who bought the fields and say, "Hey, buddy, those fields, it's a lien on your property, and you got to give it to me." So we're saying that the halach is that a verbal loan you collect from Yarshim, but not from the Kuchas. But if Goyim and Yarshin, Shibuda their I'm mixing it up here. Let's start again. Amar Papa Hilchasa Malva Pe Goyim and Yarshin. You collect from the Yarshin, but you don't collect from the people who bought land from this lender. Government Yarshin, he can collect from the Yarshin Shibuda Dairaisa, because Shibuda is a Dairaisa. The government on the Kukas, the less late call, and he can't collect from the Kukas because there's no call. Fine. Then now we get to a Yisaitistic thing. How do we know that when a woman loses her husband, she can go marry anybody else? How do we know that? Right? So that's this Gemara. The kohen esatzma get the misas abal. So the Mishnah said that a woman is kohen herself with a get and misas abal. So bishlam a get. How do we know that a woman, when she gets a get, she can go marry anybody she wants? The Yosef kotzav la sefer krisus. Ela misas abal minol. And what about misas abal? How do we know that her husband dies, that she can marry anybody she wants? So svarahu. It's a svara. Who asra, but who sharsa? Right? He asked her because he got married to her, and when he dies, he matters her. So Arayas, the Asalu v'lo shari lahu Arayas. Right? When you have Arayas, when you get married, you become usher to certain relatives, and they stay usher even after death. The lo shari lahu, and they're not matter. Right? So how can you say that just because the husband asked her, who says that just when he dies he matters her? It says that a Yavama who doesn't have kids, right? A woman whose husband dies and they didn't have kids, she can't get married to anybody. She has to marry her brother-in-law. It's mashma if you have kids, she's mutter to marry whoever she wants. Maybe ain't labanim. She doesn't have kids. Asura la'alma v'shar liyavim. She's also the whole world, but she's mutter to one brother-in-law. But if she had kids, she'd be also to everybody. So Gemara answers, so now we're going a different route. Almana is not allowed to marry a kohen gadol. Hala kohen hedjit sharia, but an almana can marry a kohen hedjit. So you see that when a husband dies, a woman does become mutter to any man. So Gemara asks, no, maybe what it's saying is that there's an Isser lav to marry Kohen Gadol, L'kuli Yama B'aseh. To the whole world, it's a mitzvah. It's just an aseh. So what it says, aseh maya vidite. What are you going to do with this mitzvah aseh? Ita anya mitzvah sabal. If it helps, the mitzvah sabal helps, right? So then tishtri legamri. She should become totally mutter. And if the husband's death does not help her to stop this mitzvah to say, then she should be also to everybody the same way she was also before, meaning it should be an Isser Misa. Right? Meaning the Gemara is thinking maybe when her husband dies, she's still also to marry any man, but it's no longer a lav. It's a mitzvah aseh. Right? So Gemara says, okay, if that's the case, then what's the whole chiddush? What are we gaining here? Right? You won't need a law by kohen gadol, meaning because you still have an Isser mitzvah to say. So Gemara says, Allah malay. Why not? Afikta mimisa, but mysa, Allah say. Taka, maybe when she's married and a guy sleeps with her, she's there's a chiyuv misa. But when if the husband dies, then it's only it's a isra say. Midi dav apsuli and mikdashim. Same thing with things that become puzzle for hektish, meaning animals that become puzzle. The meikara is bumila. Before, meaning when they become, you have hektish, a carbon that becomes puzzle, right? And then if you use it, you're still over on meila. But once you paid it, right? What do you do with a carbon that's puzzle? You take it and you put it onto a few dollars, and then those dollars become hektish, or you paid it to another animal, and the animal goes out from its kedusha. So meikara is meila, even though it becomes puzzle, if you use it, it's over on meila. But even after you paid it, you still cannot use it for your own mundane work, and you can't use it for the hair, for the, what do you call it, the wool, right? Parkinu. Once you paid it, meila lasbu, there's no meila, but begizav avodah asiri, it's still asur gizav avodah. So my answer is element the Amar Kra. So now we have a different shot. The pasuk says pen yamas b'malchama. Right? If maybe the guy is going to die in war, and another man is going to take her. So that's beferish, right? Was that this week's parsha? Last week's parsha? Last week, no? That you don't go out this week? See, right? A man doesn't go out to war, right? Because we're afraid he's going to die in Muhammad and somebody else is going to take her. So what do you mean? So you see that when the guy dies, somebody else is allowed to marry him. Who's the other that's allowed to take her is a yavam. Maybe then it's a brother-in-law that can marry her. Meaning there's no kids because they just got married. So maybe it's only a yavam. So Ravashi based chuvas with davar. There's two chuvas with that. Chada, the yavam loy ikri acher. A yavam, they wouldn't call yavam somebody else comes and take her. They would say the yavam. Right? Va'id ksiv. And if it says, and if the next husband hates her and gives her a sefer krisis, right? Or if the second husband dies, right? There it's somewhere where there was two marriages. Ve'ishkas misa legerushin. We make a hekish between misa and gerushin. Ma gerushin shari v'gemeres. Gerushin matters her and completes the whole thing. Af misa shari v'gemeres. So misa too is matter her and she goes out totally free. So basically, I'm not sure. So now, bottom line is, what is the source that when a woman loses her husband, she can marry anybody? Is it two psukim, one pasuk? I mean, it sounds like Pen Yamas. What? So then what's this next thing? So sounds like we can learn it straight from that pasuk.
But that pasuk is it's the same parsha.
I understand.
We're just making a hekesh in that parsha from get to misa. But where it says that she can marry, that's a pasuk.
So you just need that second pasuk to back you up to show that it's not a yavam.
Right. Otherwise, it wouldn't be shtei chuvas b'davar. It would be tshuva echad b'davar. And we have another.
Yeah. Okay.
Yaakov.
Yeah.
I don't know if you find this interesting, but I wrote in my Gemara we learned this in March of 2016. This it was Shushan Purim, and I wrote down that a woman who's married to the king can never be with another man. So maybe why this?
Yeah, that's true. But
we learned this. This was Shushan Purim. We learned this Gemara 7 years ago.
Yeah. So then, so you're saying we don't have the basher for this one? Well, it's this week's
Wasn't it this week's parsha?
It was.
Yeah, that's what we said. We said that. Yes.
Well, half this whole week's daf was this week's parsha, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. We didn't point it out, but that's because I was Maber said Friday night for the most part.
Didn't we also say by Aisha's Kohen Gadol? Aisha's Kohen Gadol also can't marry somebody else. Didn't we say that about Ashes Cohen Gadol? The Cohen Gadol dies, his almana can't marry somebody else. Didn't we say that?
I don't remember.
Not this week. Maybe a few months ago. I don't know.
Maybe that was
I
Shushan
think it's the Gemara
2016.
Sanhedrin. Was it? It's the
Thought we said that. Maybe it was. I'm pretty sure we said it somewhere.
Yeah,
Ashes Cohen Gadol.
I don't remember. Am I mixing up Kohen Gadol with a king?
I remember you saying it on Ashes Cohen Gadol. I didn't remember it by King, but Aaron does. So he wrote it down.
No, king for sure. I don't know about Kohen Gadol. Anyways, yeah. All right, we'll stop
It's
over
the
here.
Shivas thing. No,
Now,
it's not
another
the
interesting fact. Today's the 100-year anniversary that Rameir Shapiro gave the speech about the Daf Yomi.
What today is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
That's
starting.
how-
They're starting Amud Yomi now. According to the Yated.
Who Dirshu is?
Yeah.
They have that already. They're going into competition with Araisa.